Hello students, a very warm welcome to all. I am Dr. Premal Ramesh Devre from SPH Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Malegaon. Today we are going to discuss a very beautiful poem entitled Sonnet 29 by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare is considered to be the greatest playwright and poet of the English language. He wrote 38 plays, 154 sonnets, and various other poems. Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Othello are most remarkable plays written by him. Stern says, over the last 400 years, Shakespeare's words have entertained and moved us, giving us new perspectives on ourselves and others. Sonnet 29 is a poem written by the English poet and playwright William Shakespeare. The sonnet is from the Fair Youth sonnet sequence. In it, the speaker feels both insecure and troubled by several things going on in his life. However, the thought of his beloved immediately brings him great joy despite these circumstances. It is a love poem uh, which are concerned with the physical beauty and erotic desire. The presence of love in his life is sufficient to make him forget other troubles. The thoughts of his beloved are such a source of joy for him that he no longer wishes to exchange his life with any other. The poem is a celebration of love, and also it is about the power of love to positively affect one's mindset. A sonnet is a specific type of poetry. The sonnet derives from in 13th century in Italy and the Italian word sonetto, which means little sound or song. Its typical themes are love and or being rejected. A speaker who investigates himself, his thoughts and emotions. In it, you often find um, fixed pattern and structure. The sonnet which we are going to look at is so called Shakespearean sonnet, or it is also known as English sonnet. This is the text which we are going to discuss today. We will go through it in our upcoming slides. Now let's go through first quatrain. The first quatrain is, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deep heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. In the first line, the poet assumes himself to be in disgrace with fortune, meaning he has been having bad luck. He also feels in disgrace with men's eyes, implying that the general public looks on him unfavorably. It means people are judging him. In disgrace with fortune suggests that fortune itself is making judgments. He is in disgrace and he has nobody to weep or to be comforted by. He is alone. This is his outcast state. The poet finds himself in the same situation. He weeps over his condition and prays to heaven for relief. He personified God, and in this case, he is deaf, making the poet's cries bootless. He is crying out to heaven and cursing his fate. In first quatrain, speaker speaks about how lonely poet feels, and even heaven can help him. He just left with his tragic fate. The speaker speaks about his present issue or problem. Now let's move towards the second quatrain. Wishing me like to one more reach in hope, featured like him with friends, possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. These lines focus on the speaker's state of mind, how his outcast state affects the way he feels. Line 5 to 8. They explore the dynamics of his mental state, which is considerable detail. He compares himself to other people. He wishes to be like one more rich in hope. He wants to be like someone who is more physically beautiful and who has more friends. He wants to have another man's skill and someone else's freedom to act and realize his dreams. The speaker is obsessed with other people and their success, wealth, and influence. If he feels himself to be an outcast, he does so because he so obsessively compares himself to other people. An image of the speaker thus begins to emerge. Line 8 focused on the speaker's status in relation to other people. He turns and considers his own pleasures. He has lost the capacity to make pleasure in things he loves best. But it also suggests a solution to his misery. Instead of focusing on other people's success, he should return to the things he loves and try to draw joy from them again. In quatrain 2, speaker speaks about issue or problem in detail. He wishing to be another man with friends, wealth, freedom, the things he used to enjoy. Uh, Now, this first lines means octave speaks about specifically about depression and the loss. Speaker and his hopelessness. This says about state of mind, how it is in depressed. Now, let's see quatrain 3. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despairing, happily I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. In line 9 and 10, the poem undergoes a major shift. The simile of lark is developed in line 10 and 12 when the speaker describes the effect that a thought of his love has on his state. The fact that the lark rises from the sullen earth at the break of day implies that the day is much happier than the night. Daybreak is compared to the dawning of a thought of the beloved. In line 11 and 12, he compares his state, his mental condition, to a lark singing at the break of a day. The lark is traditional symbol of morning. It's a bird that often greets the daybreak with song. Quatrain 3 resolves the issue or problem. Now the last couplet. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. Now this last couplet is the summary of the sonnet's theme. Final two lines of the poem serve as clarification. They try to explain why thinking about the young man produces such a radical transformation in the poet's mood. His explanation, remembering that sweet love brings wealth, so much that he would not give it up to be king of England. He doesn't want to be king because of the wealth that the young man's love brings him. The final line of the poem, that then I scorn to change my state with kings, suggests that the speaker has given up to the obsession with other people's status and success. The speaker has found an alternate form of value, something that comforts him even when he is down and out. He may have even found an alternate way of relating to people. Love is not a scarce resource like wealth and status. The structure, Sonnet 29 is a Shakespearean sonnet and it therefore follows a certain pattern that's typical of its own. Sonnet 29 is actually divided into three quatrains, four lines which are connected through rhymes, and couplet which is two line and rhyme scheme. In the first two quatrains, the speaker talks about the times when he feels unfortunate, unhappy, and disconnected with himself, and very often to be someone else. But after these two quatrains, there is change of mood in the poem. In the third quatrain, the speaker thoughts and starts to speak about somebody whom he loves and how he changed his very miserable feeling and he enjoy hope. In the couplet, the speaker gives conclusion to the poem. He says that because that person loves him, he feels so good that he wouldn't change it after all. The theme of the sonnet is love. How knowing that someone loves you can help you when you are feeling sad and depressed. How love and friendship can help you when feeling sad and depressed. Love and friendship can really change the way you look at things and give you hope and inspiration to go on, even when you feel everything around you goes wrong. Especially the last two lines of Sonnet 29 emphasize the theme of love. These are poetic devices used by the poet in this poem. The language in Sonnet 29 is very complicated and really difficult to understand, but very interesting thing to look at poetry is that the choice of words it has. The word saloon not only is a natural phenomenon, but it also reflects the kind of state of speaker's mind. The poet also make use of personification here. In opening lines of the poem, the poet personifies both fortune and heaven and blames them for his bad luck. He equates fortune and men's eyes. The speaker is not only in disgrace with other people, he is also in disgrace with fortune. It implies that fortune itself has eyes and that capacity to pass judgment on the speaker and his actions. In the third line, Shakespeare personifies heaven, given heaven being deaf. Shakespeare personifies his state too. His state sings hymns. Then we have simile here in line 11 and 12. The speaker compares his state to the lark at the break of day arising. Poet compare himself to lark. Imagery. Uh, this image gives Heaven's Gate is an image used by the poet in this poem. This image gives reader very positivity, and by using an image Shakespeare makes reader think of happiness, peace, beauty, divinity, how good his love makes him feel. Then symbol, lark in addition is simile and it can also be a symbol of freedom, a symbol of joy. So these are some poetic devices, symbols, um, images used by poet here in this poem. Hope you like and enjoy the poem. Thank you very much.